2015 has been a fantastic year for video games, and this week we've seen the launch of a bunch of great games, some of which we have been playing in beta for what feels like most of 2015.
Yeah, there have been I don't know, 7, 13, 14 betas, something like that. Yeah.
One of which being Rainbow Six Siege.
Many of which.
Oh, I meant for Siege specifically.
Sorry, yeah.
That was just Siege. There were 25 or
We're talking
6.
about all the betas.
Right, yeah. Then the number creeps up a little bit.
Scott, you reviewed it, you were in the process of reviewing it for GameSpot.
Yeah.
Aaron, of course, we've had you on loads over the years. You've been playing a bunch throughout the various alphas and betas. Scott, first of all, just before we sort of get into the thick of it, we have a review in progress up on the site now. Why is the full review not on GameSpot yet?
Yeah, well, if people follow the point, which they absolutely should, you talked about embargoes just a couple weeks ago, and this is one of those instances where Ubisoft had set an embargo saying, hey, this is when you can start posting impressions and stuff like that, and in situations where we know we're going to want to test the actual live servers and see. I mean, Siege is a multiplayer-focused game.
Yeah.
It exists online. That is the way to play it. So unless we can confirm that it actually functions properly, unlike good past example would be the Master Chief Collection.
Yes.
It didn't work right.
This time last year, it was 3 weeks after the launch of the game, and it was still not working.
Yeah. So we want to avoid situations like that. So when there's an embargo and there's a game that needs to be tested online, we will generally put up a review in progress just to let people know, hey, here's why we don't have a full review. If you're seeing it on other sites, if you're seeing other people post impressions, here's why we don't have a full scored review. We're waiting, we're testing things, primarily the servers, but there are other factors as well, like pacing of the progression and other things like that.
Yeah. Aaron, you were going to say something.
Oh, I mean, typically when we go to review events, they set up an ideal situation where we're all sitting in a room with perfect servers and everything works great.
Yeah. Joe's network.
Yeah, I mean, I've played Rainbow Six Siege today on both PC and PS4, and I've actually encountered a lot of bugs that I ran into in the beta, like getting stuck crouching and having to go prone to get out of it, and rubber banding, and a number of things that I'm not sure if it's just a day one launch issue, but again, they're the kinds of things that we didn't see at the review event, and today I've had a lot of brokenness. That being said,
does it feel like it's network related?
What the game communicates to the player, and I can't confirm this entirely, but I think it's hosted on somebody's machine. So it's dependent probably on the connection to that person's machine being good.
So does it seem like some games are running better than others?
Perhaps? Yeah, it's very inconsistent. When everything works, on a high level, when everything works in Rainbow Siege, it's one of my favorite games so far this year, just because I haven't had a game that's really got my heart going like that in a long time.
Yeah. The tension when it works is pretty incredible.
Speaking quickly, I guess, you've got it's like the most thankless job in the world is reviewing, especially a game like this, because not only do you have to account for the quality of the game and also its technical issues, but you can only ever witness your technical issues. I remember some people, post reviews of games and they don't have, for instance, we had Jeff Gerstmann on the show for Fallout a couple of weeks ago, who had really bad problems on consoles. I played 30 hours, I think, or 20 hours maybe of Fallout 4 on PS4 and hadn't encountered anything like he was playing. So are you experiencing the same stuff Aaron is? Is it?
No, actually.
Really?
My experience today, at least, has been pretty smooth. I've been playing on PS4 all morning, so I think Aaron was primarily experiencing issues on PC from what he's told me.
Although the getting stuck bug was PS4, and a guy on the chat told me how to get out of it, so he'd clearly had the same problem.
Interesting. Yeah, I've absolutely run into this before in past reviews. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but I've definitely had encountered situations where I wrote a review, published it, and the comments are all, what about this bug? What about this bug? Yeah. I'm like, it never happened to me. I don't know what to tell you. So I am trying to be mindful of that. I am talking to other people about their experiences with the game. I am trying to see how often those sorts of issues come up, how consistent they are for other people. I mean, if it's just a one-off for a single person, maybe not worth mentioning in the review. If it's something that everyone besides me is experiencing, probably worth bringing up.
So we'll get to that, I guess, in the review when it's on GameSpot. I'm guessing later this week sometime.
Yes. Hopefully end of day Wednesday, maybe early Thursday, something along that. It depends on how quickly I'm able to progress through the game. Again, progression is another thing that I really want to test, and it seems like relatively slow to unlock new stuff. Although I was originally told that you could only play PvP after reaching a certain level. It turns out there is actually a casual PvP mode that's available from the start, so that's good to know. But you can jump in and just play online.
Ranked PvP?
Ranked is locked.
It's it's basically their hardcore mode is what they're saying.
Right.
Although I haven't noticed
you have to eat food and sleep properly.
It does remove a lot of in-game help. In casual PvP, you have a grenade indicator. Hey, a grenade just flew past you, and it'll be blinking and let you know that you should move.
Yeah.
But in ranked, that will not be there. And
so
there are other.
So are they trying to limit people getting into ranked who shouldn't be in ranked?
The game has the game can have a pretty steep learning curve if you haven't played the betas before. It's a very tactical game, and like people who've played for a while are going to know a lot more than you do.
Yeah, lots of different characters, lots of like nuance in attack.
Yeah, there's a lot to know.
Like I think their intention was to have you play through their situations, which is basically like training. That's enough to get you up to 5 operators unlocked, and then
of the 20 total.
Of the 20 total, and then you can play Terrorist Hunt. That'll start getting your renown credits up.
That's the co-op single player kind of
Correct.
aspect.
Yeah, it's your team versus a set number of AI, or potentially an infinite number of AI if you have to go in and disarm a bomb.
So are those the 2 single player aspects of the game? There's the sort of the training situation stuff, and then there's the terrorist hunt. Is that it for sort of AI single player?
Yeah,
stuff?
you can play Terrorist Hunt on your own, although it's really designed for co-op. The only truly like single player only portion of the game are these situations, which I mean it kind of borders on a campaign. Like, had there been more like directed moments and sort of unique gameplay moments injected into the experience, and had there been more story tying it all together, it would have basically been a campaign. Like, they're pretty robust for like just calling them training missions. Kind of undersells what they are.
Well, I mean it's a $60 game, so you kind of think let's have some.
It does feel like there's a bit of a hole.
It's a
it
little
could have
bit
used
strange.
a full campaign,
like,
I think.
They put a ton of effort into making these operator videos for each one of the operators cutscenes, which you're going to watch one time. It feels like if they just put that energy into making cutscenes for the situations, they would have had a campaign.
Yeah,
right.
And
like
there's a germ of a story in it. I mean, the intro to the game, like the cutscene you watch when you first put the disc in, talks about basically the creation of the Rainbow Six, like what Rainbow Six is.
Ding
I mean,
Chavez.
if nobody remembers, yes, this was originally a Tom Clancy novel. Like, there is actually like a universe here that you could draw from to create an actual story, and the opening cutscene hints at that. But then the rest of the game doesn't really touch on it. It's like you could have, like, there was room for a narrative. You could have done some stuff, but then again, who knows? Plenty of people who play Call of Duty are like, I haven't played a single player in years.
Exactly.
So it's like, where do you focus your resources?
So let's talk about the actual multiplayer itself.
Yeah,
let's talk about the shooting. What are the modes? How does it play? Does it have longevity?
So the most important thing to know about Siege, especially the PvP, is it's very kind of unforgiving. It's set up in a very deliberate manner. There are no respawns. You've 1 life per round. That's it. It's no more than 5 versus 5. So it's a very controlled and particular setup. There is no straight like run and gun respawn team deathmatch.
It's more of a Counter-Strike than a Call of Duty.
It's even more tactical than Counter-Strike. I mean, it's very deliberately paced. I mean, every round actually opens with a sort of planning phase where defenders will be able to set up traps and sort of fortify their position, and attackers will be able to use remote-controlled drones to scout out and find objectives. And Aaron and I have been talking about how crucial that phase is. I mean, it sounds a little dry, like, you're driving your drone around, you're going to, mark your enemies and all that kind of stuff. But seriously, it's such a crucial time saver. If you know where your objective is before a round starts, you're not kind of running around aimlessly. You can actually plan with your teammates what you're going to do and how you're going to infiltrate.
One of the things
it's very tactical.
One of the things that will give this game longevity, I think, is just the variety of stuff that can happen in a round.
Right.
For starters, there's a lot of maps. There was a ton of maps that we didn't even see at the review event. And that's fantastic.
How many are we talking? Like 15 or so?
It was pretty much almost every map from the situation I've seen
so I mean,
far.
minimum 10. It seemed like there might actually be more.
It's all the maps we've seen in beta plus maps from situations. And then each one of those maps has multiple locations, multiple times of day.
Right.
And then just like tactics will switch. We played against a team where they just love to like lay down in corners, and we figured that out.
Yeah.
And then they had to like switch up their whole tactics. So
that's the great thing. It's all about moves and counter moves. Like, once you figure out your opponent's strategy, you can react to it, and then they have to react to a reaction.
Right.
And it's great that it actually allows for that kind of creativity and strategic depth. I mean, it's not just if you just run into a room and try to gun people down, you're probably going to die. And it's so great that there's, again, room for creativity and also mind games and things like that. Like, you can bust out boards and, you can fortify a door, and then if you bust out one board, you can potentially trick the other team into thinking that you're just crouched waiting for them and use it as a distraction. Or you can like set up a breach charge on a door you're not actually going through and then detonate it remotely and come in another way. And there are all these different techniques that you can employ to give yourself an advantage. And it's great that you're given the tools and given the opportunity to actually do all that stuff rather than just, again, mindlessly run and gun.
The game also has something that is so neglected in so many multiplayer games, which is mixed mode servers.
Right.
Like, mixed mode just adds so much longevity. You don't know you don't know if you're going to be defending a bomb, attacking a bomb, a hostage. Like,
yeah, you're right. That is weirdly fallen out of vogue in the past couple
of
years.
Like, again, Battlefront was a perfect game where, like, Battlefront threw everything against the wall in terms of modes, but then they didn't have a mixed mode server. So every 4 maps, you just got bored and had to go search for something else to do. by having mixed modes in this, it just adds so much variety to what you're doing.
And the operators and all their gadgets as well. So each of the 20 operators has a unique item or ability that they can use, and that helps to create variety as well, especially since you have to unlock them, and it does feel kind of earned when you have to pick and choose and very gradually earn new characters and new abilities.
Okay, my last question on this, because it sort of comes into the, when people are asking, is this a game I want to play? The amount of single-player stuff and multiplayer stuff is obviously important. Another thing, especially with multiplayer shooters, is this the type of game where you really should be playing with 4 of your friends, or is it fun enough playing with randoms?
That's part of what we're figuring out. I mean, I was talking with somebody earlier today. Like, I don't think you can hold a game accountable for its audience. I mean, you can't be like, oh, the player base sucks, therefore the game is bad. But
if the game isn't enjoyable,
if a game is built to be team-based, it is the game's job to equip players with the tools they need to effectively communicate, to educate players how to use those, and to incentivize or entice that type of gameplay. I mean, if you're built to be a team-based game, you need to make players play that way. Give them a reason to play that way, and give them the ability to play that way.
Like, it may be a simple version of it, but you can imagine a version of Rocket League, for instance, which didn't educate the player in those ways needed via like the chat stuff and via just like the way you can center the ball, and that becomes like a focus. That type of thing is crucial to a game being fun, especially when playing with random people, right?
The best experience is definitely going to be on mic with a good team, or just at minimum on mic, simply because there's things that you can't communicate, such as reinforce this wall. Like, I put armor over here. Hey, don't blow up that wall, we need it. Or don't reinforce that wall, we need it.
These very are things, contextual, very specific.
These are things that the game doesn't have tools for you to communicate without just getting on voice chat. So finding a good group of people, like when you play with good people, just friend up with them, and that'll be the best, because
it makes a huge difference to the people you're playing with. And I so far I've had pretty good experiences. And again, you can't necessarily hold the game responsible for that, but if you have the option to play with people or at least people who care and have microphones, do it. The game is way better when you have those people playing with you.
Excellent. Scott and Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. Get out there and keep playing more Rainbow Six Siege, because we need to get that review up on the site. Best of luck with that. And thanks so much for coming on and talking about it.
Of course.
Let us know what you think of Rainbow Six Siege. Have you been playing the beta? Are you playing on PC or on a console? Let us know in the comment box below.